David, we've got a very important special guest today. I'm delighted to have you with us via Skype, of course, but today in studio we have the Bishop Larry Gaiters.
It's an
Lovely
honor to be
meet
here, Brother Jason. One of your biggest fans, and along with David's, and I'm so excited for the work that you're doing through Crowdsource all over the world. So again, thank you for inviting me, guys. I'm so very honored, very humbled, and I think what the audience is going to hear today will be mind-blowing, to say the least. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
We're pleased to have you here, and I'm pleased to have David with us as well. Now, David, this is something that you and I had planned some time ago, and there was a little bit of an unfortunate setback that was totally unexpected. Before we get into that, first of all, David, how are you today? Great to see you.
Very well, thank you, Jason.
Now, I want to thank you, David, for introducing me to the bishop. We had been in communication back in February about doing exactly this.
Yes.
You've done a lot of research into the Trinity Church, the Trinity United Church in Chicago, where, of course, we've heard of this down low club that Barack Obama is allegedly a member of.
Yes.
And you, of course, are a conservative black American.
Yes, sir.
You take a lot of heat for being in that position. Why don't you give our viewers a little bit of background on yourself so that people can know what we're going to talk about here today?
Well, my name is Bishop Larry Gaiters. I am the host of the nationally syndicated conservative talk show, Global Spiritual Revolution Radio, nationally syndicated throughout the United States and around the world in 150 countries through the Talk America Radio Network and also through the iHeart Radio Network and the iHeart Media Group. We average between 20 to 25 million listeners each week.
Wow.
I am a fourth generation bishop and been in ministry now for about 36 years now. And I'm also the presiding bishop of End Time Age Deliverance Ministries worldwide. And we have a little over 900 churches worldwide. So it's a work that we've been doing for a long time, but my passion is radio, and my passion is truth, and to open people's eyes and to open their consciousness. That's my real passion, which is the truth. So that's kind of a snippet of who I am.
Well, that is an impressive resume and audience. And of course, people can follow you on Twitter if they aren't already. I imagine a lot of our viewers are going to be seeing you for the first time today, Bishop Gaiters. So people can follow you on Twitter at Bishop L. Gaiters, and they can find all the information about the radio show on there, as well as by going to your website, of course, which we're showing right here. That's Talk America. What's the URL people want to use to get there?
Yes, talkamerica.us/global-spiritual-revolution-radio.
And you're really dedicated to bringing America back to the Judeo-Christian roots, conservative values.
Absolutely.
You're a Trump voter. Being a black Trump voter in America is, I've seen it. People within the black community tend to be very negative on that.
Absolutely. I have taken a beating for the past 2.5 years from what I call the black intelligentsia within the church, asking me why did I vote for a racist like Donald Trump. Well, number one, President Trump is not a racist, okay? He's a man that's been anointed as, I believe, what Isaiah chapter 45 verse 1 says, as the Cyrus of the day that will bring about an order to our country to make America great again. So I've taken a beating. But I think now that black America is beginning to wake up. And they're beginning to see, Jason and David, that the present day democratic machine was never designed to liberate not just black America, but America, period.
Right.
Why? Because it's nothing more than a plantation, okay? And so then, my responsibility, it is to open the consciousness of not just black America, but Americans as a whole, to give them a different view of not just President Trump, but our Christian conservative values. And that's what I value the most, is to bring truth through simplicity. So I'm excited today.
Do you have a gauge of what percentage of your audience is black versus white?
That's a
versus
good question.
Hispanic?
It's a multiplicity. We have Christians who are black, African, Caribbean, Caucasian. We got listeners from Russia, oh God, as far as Southeast Asia, India, all throughout the stratosphere, throughout the world. So it's not a black radio program or a white radio program, but it's a global program that reaches 20 to 25 million people on a weekly basis. We reach hundreds of thousands of different ethnicities and people from different backgrounds. And so, very good, great question, Jason. So it's a type of show that's revolutionary in scope. Mm-hmm. And my job, really, I'm a contract killer. And what I mean by that, God has called me to decapitate the system. Uh-huh. The system, what we call the Illuminati, right. Whether it's the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome, the Committee of 300. It is to bring, and I like what David and I had discussed on an ongoing basis for a long time, is giving a black view of what's going on in our country. And I'm not afraid to stand up for truth, to speak truth to power. Yeah. And what we're going to get into today about the history of the historicity of the Down Low Club. Very few people, even in Black America, even knows about that history. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. I'm excited.
Yeah, and I'm pleased to have your viewpoint because it's, a lot of my guests are white, male, sort of older demographic. Yeah. So I like to have that diversity, and obviously there's no way that I can see the world through your point of view. You've had your whole life, and you're in a very interesting position. So you're a brave guy to take the position that you have. Now, a lot of people, maybe, as you said, black, white, whatever, possibly have not heard of the Down Low Club. Mm-hmm. I first became aware of it because Dr. Jerome Corsi had done some reporting on it in WorldNet Daily. We're talking, of course, about the Trinity Church, and Dr. Corsi's reporting, I believe, was based on some firsthand interviews that he had done with Trinity Church members back in 2012. Give us an overview of what this Down Low Club, give us the lowdown on the Down Low Club.
Well, it goes back to the year 1904.
Wow.
Dr. Henry McKee Minton, a medical doctor, along with 5 other professional black men, created a counter to Yale University's Skulls and Bones.
Oh.
So they created this secret society entitled the Boulets, and that is spelled capital B-O-U-L apostrophe E, which is a French word signifying the gatekeepers of the system, but also it means caretakers of the order. So the Boulets is more of a counterfeit form of what we call the Skulls and Bones. Now, Dr. McKee and his associates, along with Dr. W. E.B. Du Bois, and most of your famous black entertainers in the sports industrial complex, or Boulets, those in the intelligentsia, in the educational system, the colleges and universities of our country, or Boulets. So then the Down Low Club started in 1904 through this Boulets Society. And one of the initiation acts that they had to perform was homosexual acts, that 2 men would have to get into a coffin in order to have sex, in order to be initiated into the order.
And these were men who were not leading homosexual lives.
No.
And forgive me if this is an ignorant question,
go right
but
ahead.
there's a massive stigma in the black male community
Yes.
against homosexuality.
Yes.
Even wearing sandals is something that many black men consider gay.
Yes. I'm glad that you brought that up, Jason, because it is a stigma within Black America and also in the Black church. And this term down low, it simply means a man or a woman who may be married to the opposite sex. They may have 2.3 children, but they live a double life. And so these men who sleep with other men and women who sleep with other women, they may be in a natural, what we deem natural relationship with a man or a woman of the opposite sex, and they have children. These people are professional people, you know. And so they live a double life. And not to kind of skip getting to Dr. Jeremiah Wright, but in 1904, this whole mess of the Down Low Club began with Dr. Minton, Henry McKee Minton, and 5 other associates who were excluded from Yale's Skulls and Bones because of segregation and
because they were black.
And because they were black. And so they wanted to create a secret society for black men. Now, the Boulets, again, is a French term signifying the gatekeepers of the keepers of the gate. Well, what are they protecting? The system. What is the system? The Luciferian Illuminati system, now not just here in the United States, but around the world. But the term Boule also means they are the caretakers. Well, why are they caretaking? Who are they caretaking? Who are they protecting?
Right.
The natural order of things. So what is the natural order of things? The crab barrel system.
Crab barrel system.
That's a term in the black community. And for a lot of African Americans who may be watching the show today, there is a term that we've been hearing probably for hundreds of years, the crab barrel mentality or the crab barrel system, which is a system where the crabs representing Black America or people of the African diaspora are put in a system. And out of that system, the system chooses a few, like a Colin Powell, like a LeBron James, like a Kobe Bryant, like a Barack Obama, like a Reverend Al vitamin B deficient Sharpton. These men, Jesse Jackson, they're chosen. So Oprah Winfrey, they choose these men and women.
Dave Chappelle.
That's another one. Yes. And
But he resisted.
Yes. I'm glad that you brought him up. I want to bring him up in a few minutes. Why? The system thinks he's crazy, along with Kanye West. They think that these men are crazy because they're bucking against the system. But the crab barrel system is owned by the barrel owners. And so the barrel owners choose these men and women who are very wealthy, very rich, and very educated for what? To oversee the crabs in the barrel. And so in the natural sense, as far as understanding the dietary of the crabs, crabs are amongst, they have the highest level of cholesterol. Well, that points to black people. So the masses of black people who are in the system can only be allowed to go so far. But they choose the Boulets. They choose these men and women, Barack Obama, Eric Holder, to bring certain ones out of the barrel. And so that's the Boulets. The Boulets are the gatekeepers of the Illuminati system, the Luciferian system, but they're also the caretakers of the crab barrel system.
So that basically keeps people under control, this crab barrel system.
And keeps them in check. And so that's the foundation of the Down Low Club, which started in 1904. Now the Boulets have 126 chapters, 5,000 members throughout the United States, throughout England, and throughout the Caribbean, specifically in the Bahamas. Now, remember some years ago, the singer Aaliyah died and she just finished a song that she just created, a video called Rock the Boat, where she was exposing the boule.
Oh, wow.
And then the plane mysteriously
Overweight,
crashed.
as I recall.
That's what but also a well-known black minister out of the Bahamas, Dr. Miles Monroe, had a book written and about ready to be published through, I believe, through Simon Schuster, concerning the boule system in the black pulpit, that you have black preachers like T.D. Jakes, like Creflo $10 Bill. These men are boule preachers. In other words, they're part of the system that keeps black people in check, that keeps them on the plantation. So Miles Monroe died just like Aaliyah in this plane crash.
On the plane.
On the plane, but his plane goes directly into a hill in the Bahamas. It doesn't make any sense. He was coming from another country. And so there's a lot of people believe that both Aaliyah and Dr. Miles Monroe were taken out because they were about to reveal the very system of the boules, which we call today the Down Low Club. And so kind of to juxtapose from 1904 going into the city of Chicago.
Right.
It gets dicey now. Now, you know that Jesse Smollett got off on the case.
Yeah.
He is a part of the Chicago Underground Down Low Club. The Attorney General, she's also a part of the Down Low Club. Now,
Kim Fox, is that her
Kim
name?
Fox, she's a part of it. Because in the boule system, they have male boules called the archons, capital Archons, which is a Latin word meaning demon. But you have female archons who are boule members called the archeus. These are female demonists or demons who lead a double life. Now, one may ascertain and ask themselves, how in the world did this man with 16 felonies get off? He's dropped. So then the boule system, who are not just the gatekeepers of the system, but the caretakers of this barrel that's controlled by the barrel owners to keep us in check, got him out. For what? To protect the system. And so then you got this system here, and I'm so shocked, David and Jason, that the majority of Black America, they have never heard of the boules.
I've certainly never heard of it.
Yeah, or the Down Low Club. So the Boule Secret Society started in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the hometown of Bill Cosby. He's a boule. Then the second hub was created in 1912 in the city of Chicago, Illinois. Barack Hussein Obama. Dr. Jeremiah Wright, according to Jesse Jackson, arranged the marriage of Barack Obama to Michelle, probably Michael Robinson. And so within the boule system of the Down Low Club, they arrange marriages. They arrange hits. They also perform spirit cooking.
Really?
Absolutely. So the boules, they perform spirit cooking.
So it's got an occult aspect to it.
It's got an occultic aspect to it, cannibalism. And so this has been going on since at least 1904.
Wow.
And so we go from Philadelphia in 1904 to Chicago in 1912, okay? And also in Los Angeles during the early part in the 1920s. So the entire system is designed to keep Black people in check. And I guarantee you the average person out there listening today, they've never heard of the boulets.
Yeah, even more secretive than the skull and bones. I mean, we've heard about the skull and bones. It's the
Exactly.
first I've ever heard the word boulets.
And you look at the insignia. Well, I'm excited. I'm so glad we're talking about this today. The insignia, the logo of the boule is a half a man, half an animal. That, according to some logos, is multi-breasted or has a breast. Wait a minute. So you have a man, then the upper part of the body is a man, the lower part of the body is an animal. Then some pictures may differ according to the artist. They have a breast. That's the transgender movement or the gender disorientation system that's a part of the boulets.
I'm not able to find the logo.
Yeah, look up, type in boule logo on Google, and it should come up within the images. So, but also the right paw of this animal, part man and part beast, has its hand on what we call an urn, which they keep ashes in, the ashes of people that are being cremated. That's a sign telling the system in the gods of the system, the bearer owners, that black people are deaf and they will be subservient to you through us. So any of our listeners, if you get a chance, look at the logo or the insignia of the Boule Seeker Society. It's a half a man, a half an animal that has its paw on an urn. Okay, capital URN, which they keep, the ashes of cremated people. It means that the gatekeepers of the system, of the Luciferian system, and the caretakers of the crab barrel system will fight to the death to protect the system that has kept them in servitude for hundreds of years.
Why would they do that?
Because black people hate themselves. They don't know who they are, what they are, or where they are going. They don't, when you lack the knowledge of God and you lack the knowledge of yourselves, when people have been taught to hate who they are, Jason and David, this is the end result. And for the life of me, I don't understand why that they can't see people like Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Well, Bill Clinton's best friend, Verdon Jordan, a high-powered DC attorney, is a boule who got Bill off because of the Monica Lewinsky scandal and got her a job within the Pentagon. Well, Vernon Jordan did that. He's a boule. Who was he gatekeeping? The president. Who was he caretaking? The president. So these black men and women who are wealthy beyond measure. Matter of fact, these 5,000 members, they represent the 1% of the rich in black America who have nothing to do with the masses of black people.
Well, just like the super rich among white people in
Yes.
America have nothing to do with the average person either. So we're really talking about the flip side of a coin of, obviously it's much easier for someone like Bill Cosby, Jay-Z, whoever, Allen Iverson, these are people that black people look up to, and
Exactly.
if they sort of say something, if Dave Chappelle comes out and says something, and frankly, this is part of the reason why I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, because if David or I say something critical of Barack Obama, it's very easy, I think, particularly for black people, to dismiss it as a racist comment, whereas if you say it, it's going to almost explode their head.
Exactly. And, not too long ago, we were doing a series. We had a guest on. We were doing this series concerning the background of Barack Obama, his teachings, his psychology being tied to that of the Communist Party.
Yeah.
Anytime that you and David may bring up Barack Obama, you're a racist. But if I bring him up and expose something about him, then I'm an Uncle Tom.
Oh, right.
Okay, I'm a house Negro.
So
this
does
is
cut
what
both ways, actually.
it cuts both ways. And also, getting back to the creation of the Boulets in 1904 in Philadelphia, and in 1912 in Chicago, Illinois. Now, 4 years later, in 1916, it extended a third chapter in the city of Baltimore, Maryland. Mm-hmm. Now, Baltimore, Maryland has the highest levels of female black witches in the United States. Witches. There is a secret society in Baltimore called the Black Witch Society. Wow. Or the Black Society of Witches. And you look to all of our listeners, if you get an opportunity, look up Black Witches of Baltimore or Female Witches of Baltimore, Maryland. A lot of these women who were once a part of a local church, they are the daughters of the Boulets, okay? And so you have Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, okay, in 1904. Then you have Chicago, Illinois in 1912. Now in 1916, you have in Baltimore, Maryland, this secret society of witches who are the daughters of the Boulets. So in other words, we're going to keep people in check educationally. We're going to keep people in check psychologically, but we're spiritually too. The system here, again, as we were talking before we went on the air, the deeper we dig, the more uglier it gets.
Yeah.
And this is the part of the reason I believe that I was attacked.
Well, let's get to that, because I don't know that we've revealed to our audience yet. So we were originally going to do this opening conversation to talk about the Boulets, the secret societies, Obama, the Download Club, and then we didn't hear from you. I hadn't met you at the time. I presumed you were busy. You've got a tremendous internationally syndicated radio show. I just figured, well, the bishop is busy, or perhaps he's seen some of the socially engineered smear campaigns about me online and he's changed his mind. No. But what actually happened was you suffered an incredibly serious near-death poisoning.
Yes.
You're looking very well right now, by the way, so we're
Thank
glad
you
to
so
see
much.
you back.
I appreciate that.
Tell everybody what happened. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I went to, and I'm sharing this with David as well, and I went to a restaurant in the Jackson Heights section of Queens. I won't say what restaurant because of the legality, what is about to come. Now, I had went to this particular restaurant in the Jackson Heights, which is it's a highly dense Spanish territory. And what I'm about to say to our Spanish brothers and sisters, this has nothing against the Latino community. I'm well known in New York City, not just a man who is against illegal immigration, but often hated by a lot of Spanish pastors in this city. Because I told one pastor in the Bronx 2 years ago, half of your church has illegal immigrants. And with one phone call, I can call ICE and they can shut you down. He didn't like that. But getting back to February the 1st, I had booked a table at this particular restaurant, which is very popular in that community. But when I went for the second time on February the 1st, there were 5 people in the whole building.
5.
3 patrons on the floor, 2 people, waiters behind the counter. I'm thinking, I felt it was strange.
Particularly for New York City, restaurants don't usually have empty nights like that.
No.
And maybe if it's a new place or something, but you don't survive for more than a couple of weeks if you have empty restaurants in New York City.
I know, and I felt that was strange. I mean, maybe, okay, they got an off night. I should have read my first mind. But anyway, the second time I went on the 1st, and I ordered my meal. It took 45 minutes for my meal to come.
And that also might not seem unusual to people who aren't in New York City, but it's important because restaurants in New York City want you to eat and get the hell out.
That's it.
They need turnover.
Yes, and so I'm glad that you brought that up. And so I felt that the whole scene was eerily
Very
wrong.
odd.
Something's not right, And I remember that, in that community, they don't like me and they don't like Global Spiritual Revolution Radio because I'm anti-illegal immigration. I believe in building the wall. That's just my political, that's my politics, that's my stance. So they really didn't want to serve me, but they did. I waited 45 minutes for my meal. I ate it, and I remember that the following night, I got sick as a dog. I was vomiting blood, not just blood, but blood that looked kind of yellowish, a foul smell. I've never been through that before.
Have you had food poisoning and stuff?
Never.
In the past?
You know what, Jason and David, never in the 56 years of my existence on this earth have I ever gone through a situation like that. I was spitting up blood, not just blood, but foul smelling blood that looked yellowish.
You had to be very concerned.
I was concerned, and then I was rushed to the hospital, which I will not reveal the name of the hospital because of the legality of my attorney is about to file. So I want to use wisdom in that regard.
Sure.
So I went to the hospital, rushed me, and according to one of the nurses, they gave me the wrong antibiotics, not once, but twice.
Wow.
To the point where my face was disfigured. My tongue swelled to the point that I was choking. This was
in the hospital?
In the hospital. All documented.
Wow.
From conception to birth. Sharing this with my team, with my legal team on this past Friday, with documentation in hand, it blew their minds. And so they said, we're going to take the case. So one of the nurses, being Nigerian, said that, Bishop, I'm not supposed to tell you this, and this may cost me my career, but they gave you the wrong antibiotics, which was supposed to have been for your roommate.
But it's an honest mistake.
It was an honest mistake, but it happened again. So they called another doctor, which was not even assigned to me. And they did not want to give me any medication that would counter the allergic reaction what I was going through. And so from that point, I couldn't even walk. There was edema in my feet, in my legs. I mean, my muscles began to atrophy. Now, normally, in the normal medical sense, and I'm not a doctor or a physician, from edema, yes, you get poison, you get infection, but your muscles don't atrophy in your legs. They were atrophying over a period of 3 to 5 days. So they said, well, you can't stay here. We're going to have to send you to a rehab center, which I'm not going to name nor the location because of the legality sense of it. So they send me to this rehab center. And I'm there from the 8th of February all the way up until May the 28th.
Wow.
Again, they're giving me the wrong antibiotics. And also, they know I'm allergic to certain foods, but they give it to me anyway by mixing it in with other foods.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. I have no idea. Matter of fact, one of the doctors, I won't say her name, an Indian doctor, said that we ran some blood tests. We found traces of arsenic, thallium, and small traces of rat poison. Rat
so that's
feces.
not food poisoning.
Not just rat poison, but rat feces. What is, she's asking me, why is rat feces and elements of rat poison along with arsenic and thallium in your blood system? I say, I have no idea. I don't just get up one day, I say, I'm going to have me a glass of thallium and another glass of arsenic and a trace of rat poison, rat feces. No. But I said, wait a minute, why didn't the hospital pick this up?
That's the rehab place.
That's the rehab place. And she got scared. She says, well, do you think that I said, I'm not thinking anything. I'm just asking you a question. Why didn't the hospital catch this before you could?
They must have been doing a whole battery of blood work on you when you come in there so sick.
Exactly. But the thing is, Jason and David, the arsenic and the thallium was not in the medical report at the rehab center.
Oh, so they didn't even know.
There was no documentation.
Wow.
They were covering themselves. So I got sick as a dog, and my face over a period of time, I've got pictures to prove it, was greatly disfigured. My body, my hands, my feet swelled proportionately. And these pictures were given to my legal team. So documentation, but the thing is, what this whole case, which is so suspicious, the arsenic, the thallium, the traces of rat feces and rat poison was not even in the medical report, not at the hospital nor at the rehab center. Why?
Were you fearful?
I was fearful for my life, yes. I was concerned for my life. I remember talking to my father, and he says, you know, be very careful about medications that you're taking. I was taking, like, in the beginning, 16 to 18 different types of medication.
Wow.
They would not tell me, Jason and David, the names of the medications, but they said, we're not going to leave this room until you take it. I said, well, I guess you're not going to leave a room because I'm not going to take it.
Wow. This is like a prison hospital.
Yes. There were meetings I was in with top level officials at this rehab center. And I said that, you know what, why is it that when I'm bringing these issues to you, all you're thinking about is covering yourself and you're wanting to discharge me? They wanted me discharged as far as back in the middle part of March because they knew they slipped. They knew they messed up. So I told them, in essence, that I'm the voice for those who can't speak for themselves. And so to this day, I don't know, David and Jason, how the arsenic and the thallium got into my bloodstream. Traces of rat feces, and rat poison in my bloodstream. I'm thinking, where is the origination of this? Where does this stuff come? How did it get into my body? And so with all this testing, blood work, they would wake me up in the middle of the night wanting to take blood. That wasn't normal, you know? And going through dialysis. And come to find out, documentation to prove it, I've got liver damage. My kidneys are damaged because of what happened both in the hospital, but more specifically in the rehab center. And now my question is, why? Was it maybe because of what I was exposing? And so I was discharged on the 28th, and they wanted me to take all of this medicine with me as a care package, the same medicines that got me in the situation in the first place. Right. Wait a minute, you're discharging me, but you want me to continue to take this medication.
So you discontinued?
I discontinued it.
Yeah,
I said, I'm not taking that.
You're looking well right now.
Yeah, thank you. But and then last Thursday, I was at the gym and was just going to do some walking on the treadmill, and I felt sick. So I went to the stall and was vomiting blood. And I remember telling my girlfriend, texting her from the hospital, you know, I was vomiting blood, and I was out for 10 to 15 seconds. I don't even remember what happened. But, you know, bringing all this to a proper conclusion, I'm not an extremist, but at the same time, these series of events cannot be by accident, you know? So I've documented everything, gentlemen, and it has not stopped me or dissuaded me to stop revealing the truth.
Right.
And especially concerning this Boule download secret society that I want to definitely get deeper into. But that's my medical case in a nutshell. My feet are really swelled again, and so it's this is a legal fight, and they're in trouble, both hospital and rehab. They have never dealt with a man like me, as educated, as intelligent, well-informed, that speak my mind and say, I'm not going to take this medication just because you say take it.
Right.
What is it used for? We're not going to leave a room until you take it. I guess you're not going to leave the room.
Doesn't sound legal for them to treat you like that.
Exactly.
So now, of course, secret societies, which you are exposing, this is exactly the type of way they would want to, you know, just have you die and say, oh, the guy had liver this or that, and died.
And they know how to really fit this. I mean, at the time I was exposing like people like Oprah Winfrey. She's a witch. She's a boule. Okay. People like and I'm going to get in trouble for saying this name, but Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a boule.
Really?
He was a part of that. The entire civil rights movement, I'm going to get in trouble here, from 1955 to 1968 was controlled, subsidized, inundated with communist and socialist money, okay? Especially all of them without fail were boules, a part of the Down Low Club.
Wow.
And so people are going to crucify me. So how dare you touch my Martin Luther King Jr.? Well, look at history. The only people that exposed this and ended up dead was Malcolm X. I interviewed...
Malcolm X exposed the boulets.
He exposed the boules.
Huh.
And I interviewed his daughter last year.
Uh-uh.
Okay. And so Malcolm X, Tupac Shakur exposed the boules.
Really?
Notorious B.I.G. exposed the boules. These men ended up dead.
It's funny because, Obama made that joke. There was that appearance that Trump made at the White House Correspondents' Dinner,
Yes.
where he was talking about his birth certificate, and he said, now Donald Trump can get back to serious investigations like what happened to Tupac and Biggie. And everybody laughed, but that's potentially his little coded message to his inside people.
Right. You see, Barack Obama, according to Clint Eastwood, is the greatest fraud ever perpetrated upon the American public. This man was packaged. His children don't even belong to him. Have we seen any pictures? And David, you can back me up on this. Have we seen any pictures of the children of Barack Obama in their infancy as babies? Where are they? And so Barack Obama, who is not an American citizen, was packaged, okay, along with Michael Obama, and these two beautiful little girls to be the face of change for the United States of America. Now, getting to the Chicago Down Low Club, the Trinity United Church of Christ, their pastor, former pastor, Dr. Jeremiah Wright, headed the local chapter in his church of the Down Low Club. And Jerome Corsi can back this up.
Yeah.
The choir director, Donald Young, was found dead in his apartment December of 2007. According to Donald Young's mother, Jean Young, she said, and I quote, that her son had a homosexual relationship with one Barack Hussein Obama. And she told the Chicago Sun-Times this, and they didn't believe her. And now we don't know if she's alive or dead. So Donald Young, they found him in his apartment on the south side of Chicago, I believe December of 2007, with a bullet hole in the back of his head. But they say he killed himself. Okay. And then you get people around Barack Obama ended up in body bags. Why? Larry Sinclair had a press conference, okay,
at the National Press Club,
and gave detailed information.
Had texts in his phone.
Had texts in his phones, and then he's knocked off. So Barack Obama,
that guy's knocked off.
He's knocked off.
I did not know that.
He's dead.
Wow.
Well, he died in a car accident.
Oh, well.
He lost control of his car.
That's probably
normal. Yeah. So and so it's interesting that Jeremiah Wright, who introduced Barack Obama to Michelle Robinson, and Jesse Jackson, okay, and Jeremiah Wright, are all a part of this down low system. Even the present day pastor, Dr. Otis Moss Jr., is a boule, a part of the down low club of the south side of Chicago. This goes high up to Rahm Emanuel. Rambo Emanuel, and Barack Obama are members of one of those bathhouses on Chicago's south side, which is a haven for homosexual liaison affairs. Both Barack Obama and Rahm Emanuel, the former mayor of Chicago, are members of.
Is he no longer the mayor?
He's no longer the mayor. I think an African-American woman is the mayor there now in Chicago. And so this sanctuary city, so corrupt, so demonic, homosexuals and lesbians in every part of Chicago politics and society. And so the political structure of Chicago has been inundated with homosexuals and lesbians.
Let me pause you for a second.
Go right ahead.
There's really no problem with someone being homosexual and taking a job of any kind, but what you're saying is there are people who are lying to the public, pretending to be heterosexual, traditional type of thing, misrepresenting, committing a fraud, and hiding their true selves. If someone came out and was openly gay and happened to be elected to something, that's not a problem.
And the thing is, personally for me, as a bishop, homosexuality is an abomination. I have to take a stand on that because as a minister, not just as a bishop, as a child of God, I take a stand against that because that's an abomination. Now, people may say, like Joel Osteen, well, I don't judge, blah, 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 but I have to take a stand. But saying that to say this, and I'm glad we're talking about this, the system, again, getting back to the Down Low Club now in Chicago, they're leading double lives. They're lying, as you said, Jason.
Yes.
They're lying, and you got pastors who are part of the Boulay system. Boulay preachers like T.D. Jakes. You don't hear him speaking out against homosexuality or Creflo $10 bill. None of these preachers, because they're a part of the same system who are pastoring our people. And they're nothing more than sellouts. They are protecting the same system that will kill a Malcolm X or a Martin Luther King Jr. So this going all the way back to 1904, this, again, Boulay Secret Society, they are men and women of renown, gatekeepers, caretakers of the crab barrel system. They're protecting the barrel owners at all costs by keeping the black diaspora in America in check.
Right.
We will only allow you to go so far, okay? But we're going to choose your heroes for you, okay? And we're going to keep you on the plantation. Well, case in point, this Amazon deal was killed by who?
Ocasio-Cortez.
Cortez, okay? She's a Boulay.
She is? She's
Absolutely.
not even black.
The Boulays are not just black. You get a few white people going back in history who Boulays. Well, you got Jack Greenberg. Jack Greenberg, who worked with Thurgood Marshall in the, I believe, the Supreme Court case of Brown versus the Board of Education. Jack Greenberg is one of the founding members of the NAACP. He's a Boulay.
Wow.
He's non-black.
Sounds like a Jewish guy.
He's Jewish.
Yeah.
He's Jewish. And so he, along with another Jewish person, and again, this is not, when I'm saying, this is not anti-Semitic. So, because I am pro-Israel, as I said before we went live. There is a man by the name of Julius Rosenwald who ran the Sears Roebuck Company in the late 20s, the early part of the 30s.
Which was like Amazon.com back then.
Which was like Amazon.com, exactly. So Julius Rosenwald, along with the Rockefeller family, funded and subsidized Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood to build the first abortion clinic in Harlem, New York in 1929. So the money that Margaret Sanger got, and at the time, Margaret Sanger went into Harlem and met with W.E.B. Du Bois. Now, Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, I don't care. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, a famous African-American philosopher, Harvard educated, was approached by Margaret Sanger as far back as 1916 in Harlem. How do I gain access to bring abortion clinics to Black America, beginning in Harlem? How do I do that, Dr. Du Bois? Dr. Du Bois, what is the key that I can have that would have me to gain access to Black America, beginning with the citizens of Harlem? And I'm going to say this, and this is mind-blowing. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois said, if you want to gain access to the black community of America, you got to first target the black pulpit.
The black what?
The black pulpit.
The churches.
Is it the pastors? So because 9 times out of 10, you got me excited now, anything that the pastor says on the pulpit, 9 times out of 10, that black church will go along with it. So what she did, Margaret Sanger, and by the way, according to the Margaret Sanger papers in 1932, her father had a liaison with an African-American club dancer in Harlem. And according to the Margaret Sanger papers in 1932,
he got her pregnant.
Yeah. And
so
also
this is why they became so
yes,
fixated on abortion.
Boy, you got me excited now, Jason and David. So see, the thing is that scene, that story was not only in the Margaret Sanger papers, Howell State New York University, that was published in 1932, but also in the 1932 edition of the Birth Review, that this woman became pregnant, and the child, according to the records of the NYPD, the child was dead in the bedroom of the teenager Margaret Sanger when the child was 5 years old. It was covered up.
Late-term abortion, you might say.
Yeah, well, see, the child was 5 years old, living in the house, yes, but dead in the bedroom of Margaret Sanger.
Wow.
See, again, when you dig up stuff like this and reveal this, it will shock the mind, but
right.
You got to think in your mind, and I never understood the hatred of this woman she had for black people. Why? Because of her father's liaison. So she needed the money to begin this conspiracy, this eugenics conspiracy,
right,
against not just black babies, but babies, period. Well, she had 3 sons. They were not aborted, but yet she's telling black families to abort their children. But the question is, and this is all tied to the Boulay Society in the Download Club, where did she get the money from? John D. Rockefeller gave $100,000 to his best friend Julius Rosenwald, in 1929, who gave that money to his best friend Cecil B. DeMille. Now, Cecil B. DeMille,
movie director,
who had a liaison with Margaret Sanger. That's in the 1932 edition of the Birth Review. That's also in the Margaret Sanger papers in 1932. So this trail of money that came from John D. Rockefeller to Julius Rosenwald to Cecil B. DeMille to Margaret Sanger to build the first abortion clinic on the corner of 125th and Lenox, which is considered the Black Mecca, the highest populated number or percentage of black people in the world outside of Africa.
Wow.
Is in Harlem, New York. Why not go to Midtown Manhattan? Why not go out to Long Island? There's probably some farms back here. Why not go to Hollywood? Why Harlem? Her hatred was so demonic. And since 1973, close to 19 million black babies have been aborted.
Wow.
Who supports Planned Parenthood? Barack Obama. Who supports Planned Parenthood?
Michelle
Obama. The left-wing power structure of the Democratic Party. So I don't understand, Jason and David, why black people continually support a democratic system, a party that doesn't have their best interests at heart. They don't care about black folk. Look at the Amazon deal. They would rather have us in servitude. They want to keep people poor. And so this is all tied to the Boulay Secret Society. But getting to Planned Parenthood, when you go back to in the early part of the 1920s, up until 1937, the Abyssinian Baptist Church, which is I'm going to get in trouble now, in Harlem, New York to this very present day, who was pastored by Adam Clayton Powell Sr. up until 1936, and Adam Clayton Powell Jr. took it over in 1937. Alan Clayton Powell Sr. was approached by Margaret Sanger and W.E.B. Du Bois. Can Margaret Sanger come on your pulpit to give medical attention to the women of your church? So what happened, she approached through W.E.B. Du Bois, okay, through Dr. Alan Clayton Powell Sr., the Harlem Pastoral Alliance in 1929. And every pastor in the Harlem Pastoral Alliance received $500. For what? To support this woman, this demon, to plant the first abortion clinic in Harlem, New York in 1929. Now, one may say, what does this got to do with the Boule Society? Because it's these preachers that she approached that are a part of the Down Low Club that goes back to 1904. So this is the reason why I'm a target. Because I'm willing to die. I'm willing to give up my life. And I know the Lord has protected me. But I just wanted to really lay this foundation going back to 1904, up to this very present day, that this down low system is demonic. If you try to, well, you look at Joan Rivers. She made a joke a couple years ago. Concerning one of the reporters said, "What do you think? Do you think we will ever have a first gay president?" What was her response? "Yeah, we got a gay president." 3 weeks later, she dies on the slab. Come on, see, these people are not playing.
During a pretty routine medical test of some kind.
And her daughter's so quiet now because they probably threatened her daughter. So all of these men and women who consist of the 1% in Black American society, are a part of this down low system. They lead double lives. They are perpetrating a lie.
Yes, and that's the key, because some of our viewers were disagreeing with your comments about homosexuality. That's certainly everyone's right to have their opinion about it.
Absolutely.
And this viewer was saying that if someone's not ready to come out of the closet, that's their right. That may be true, but if they're lying to a spouse, if they're lying to the public to achieve some goal, the lying is the issue. What somebody wants to do in their personal life is a separate debate. I respect your opinion of disagreeing with that lifestyle. The problem that I have with it is when somebody is going there and lying and telling you, hey, here's my beautiful family and I'm married, and then they're engaging in these sexual activities to advance their position.
And they're putting their wives at risk. Their children at risk.
Well, the deceit, do the wives know?
That's it. And so this has been going on for decades. And again, I'm not the type of person that, I don't, condemn a person. If they want to live that life, they live that life, but it counters against the Word of God. But that's another topic for another day.
Right.
But to stay on topic here, even in the music industry, being tied to the Boulets, every rapper of any success, of any notoriety, had to go through this homosexual initiation process.
Really?
Jay-Z, every one of them, 50 Cent, you can
Snoop
talk,
Dogg?
all of them. Any rapper of any significance, any
Run
actor.
DMC?
What's that?
Run DMC?
All of them. When you reach a plateau, Jason, David, listen, when you reach a plateau, and especially those actors and actresses, that $20 million movie plateau, they have got to go to the casting couch. They have got to go through this initiation sexual rite, where even some of these child actors, their soul is sold with blood money. Written, the signatures from their parents are written in blood. Look at the lives that has been destroyed because of this boule system, even in Black Hollywood. So any rapper, they've gone through that.
So somebody like Harvey Weinstein, he's portrayed in the media as being this sexual predator, but perhaps he's fulfilling a role in a larger system. Is that?
He is, because he's not the only one. What happened to Harvey Weinstein? Excuse my French, he pissed off someone. You see, you get Bill Cosby, you get Harvey Weinstein, okay? These people, they, excuse my French, they pissed off someone, so they got exposed. You got Kevin Spacey. He wasn't the only one.
Ryan Singer.
Right, right. Why all these people now, through the Me Too movement, and what I don't like about the Me Too movement. Now, I don't mind women standing up and exposing this problem. But what I don't like, gentlemen, is the weaponization of it, of the Me Too movement.
Kavanaugh.
Yes, and look at the Black Lives Matter. George Soros, he has fully subsidized the Boule system. There is no way, no how, that Jussie Smollett could have got off with 16 counts, felony counts. He's part of the system. So what profit would a multi-billionaire like George Soros have anything to do with Jussie Smollett? It's control. If I can give you some breadcrumbs to get you out of the mess that you're in, you will be beholden to me.
Right.
I'm telling you, so.
Well, they're also aware that at any point these powerful individuals could put them back in this hole. You know, David, I'm sorry, I want to turn it over to you for just a moment, because so much of what the bishop is saying seems to be so similar to the things that you've told us. These powerful secret societies are engaging in what most people would consider bizarre or deviant sexual rituals. We've spoken many times about the Mendenhalling, the alleged Mendenhalling of Christine Marcy, which now the Washington Post and various social engineers are just jealously protecting. What do you think about all of this, David?
Well, I'm just picking up on some of the extraordinary images or symbology, if that's the right word, that the bishop has covered. I don't think I'd heard this phrase or crab barrel. Now, Jason and myself, Bishop, we've been conducting effectively a counter media play on our show, looking at what the media is presenting to the public or misleading the public. And we're trying to take the crime scene apart, right, and indicate to the public what might have happened. So you've talked about crab barrel and how the crabs are trapped in the barrel. And Jason, if you put up the image that I think you did of a barrel, let me just take you into the world of this British company called Serco. Is one of the world's leading outsourcers, and its shareholders met on the 47th floor of the North Tower, and its shareholders included 10 so-called global custodians. And custodian is an interesting word. You use the word. Me, as an engineer, what I've been looking at is who had custody of the various patented devices that might have been used on 911 to execute what might be called a media play, where the public is pointed one way and away from what really happened. So it says there, the barrel, not the crabs, is the problem. Well, going back to Serco, Serco's chairman, Roy Gardner, is a fellow of the City and Guilds Institute of London. And City and Guilds Institute of London was formed in 1817. And it has a bunch of traditional guilds or livery companies and some modern ones. One of the guilds, worshipful companies or liveries associated with barrels is the Worshipful Company of Coopers. And Coopers is a word for people who used to make barrels. Now, amazingly, from a historical point of view, the hall, which is where the Coopers met in around 1600, was where they held the government lottery to finance the London Company of Virginia to settle with the Jamestown colonies. So right back to, well, 1600, over 400 years ago, you have a guild that is staging a process to finance an operation that ultimately, I suppose, ended up with the 13 colonies right through to the War of Independence in 1776, or the Declaration of Independence. And in 1776, there were two secret societies created, I believe by the British or the City of London, to continue control over the Americas after independence. And those two societies, which I think we will find ultimately, have oath-taking ceremonies similar to the ones described by the bishop, would include Phi Beta Kappa, which is intellectuals, and Kappa Beta Phi. which are the wealthy billionaires. Phi Beta Kappa had 17 presidents, 38 Supreme Court judges, and 120 Nobel Prize winners. I believe Bill Clinton is Phi Beta Kappa. And as far as Kappa Beta Phi is concerned, well, the most notorious there is, I believe, well, two, is Wilbur Ross, the Commerce Secretary, who was 25 years with N.M. Rothschild, N.M. Rothschild is the investment banker for Queen Elizabeth II and Donald Trump and Circa. Cut a long story short, I believe there's a raft of secret societies touched upon in that extraordinary speech by the late JFK, President Kennedy, who in 1961 made a presentation to the Press Association in the Waldorf Astoria in New York, and he spoke of a secret society that, not exactly in those words, presented an existential threat to the survival of the United States. And he talked about guerrillas by night, and instead of armies by day, and infiltration instead of invasion. And I think what the bishop has described is an infiltration through secret societies right into the heart of the government of the United States, the Free Republic, the United Kingdom, and in Canada and Australia and New Zealand and countries beyond, that are connected together with the very latest technology. And I just touched upon the Electronic Visualization Lab in the University of Illinois in Chicago, where in June of 2001, they talked about a mallodrama, which is a magic living object that is projected into the internet. And the magic living object, I think, is another word for that would be a virtual wizard that electronically could track someone like the bishop into that restaurant in Queens, right? We don't need to know the name.
Right.
I would ask if the bishop doesn't want to tell me. I do believe that the hospital you went to was a university hospital.
Yes.
Can you answer that? Or?
No. It's you and I had talked about that. I really don't want that to be known to the public because of the legality, but it's a state-run hospital, and that whole 5-day scene was something I've never been through before, where I was just kind of rushed and hurried off to the rehab center, and so it was a state-run hospital. It's a state-run hospital.
Okay, all right. So let's just moving on.
Mm-hmm.
The City and Guilds of London now represents 110 livery companies.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Amongst those livery companies would be a company, or the worshipful company of World Traders, which I believe had representatives at the Serco shareholders meeting.
Right.
In the North Tower 911. And when you think about it, with these livery companies, who would represent the biggest competitor to the worshipful company of World Traders, but the people working in the World Trade Center? Mm-hmm. Now, Serco also has deep affiliations with the worshipful company of insurers and firefighters that share the same hall. And if we look at the devastation in New York on 911, we see this would be an extraordinarily, perhaps diabolical or Luciferian term for the bishop. If you take the World Traders, the worshipful company of firefighters, the worshipful company of insurers, the worshipful company of security professionals, you have all of the trades and skills and professions necessary to pull off what would be called back in the medieval times a mystery play, or a morality play in New York. And I believe that the medieval mystery and morality plays of medieval times actually are coming right through today. And we have a worshipful company, for example, of environmental cleaners. Mm-hmm. Now, what you describe for me, Bishop, would appear to be a staged event.
Yes.
Right? As you point out, it is not a coincidence. It is not an accident to have that combination of thallium, which is a highly toxic system that I believe has been banned as a rat poison in the United States. So it wouldn't find its way into rat poison by coincidence. But the Worshipful Company of Environmental Cleaners, which is one of the 110 companies, would be very familiar with what it would take to clean up an infestation of rats. And what effectively they've got there is a set of poisons that would seem to fit precisely the symptoms that you describe. So for me, I'm just making an inference here. This was a professional hit by people skilled in the arts and crafts of environmental cleaning, if you will, security professionals, etc., etc. And what is vitally important, of course, is the cover-up. That is to say, there's a whole group of people who do not want, A, your story to reach the public, and B, any kind of inference that might point back to the crab barrel phenomena. I think you used the word the plantation effect, where a small group of what David Rockefeller described as a supranational government of world bankers and an intellectual elite maintain control over, let's say, we the people. Over to you.
There's a political scientist by the name of Dr. Andrew Hacker. I believe he wrote a book, Two Societies, Separate, Hostile, Unequal. And he made a comment. He's a historian as well as a political scientist. And what you said, David, it hit a nerve with me, as everything you always say and do, it does, because I believe God has anointed you to really speak truth to power in this generation. But Dr. Hacker said that we have a black middle class, but it only exists because of the suffrage of white America. So I looked up that word suffrage because I wanted to know what that word means.
Voting, isn't it?
Yeah, huh?
It's voting, isn't it?
That, but also it represents that not any particular color, but the system will allow certain individuals, and Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, Barack Obama, Eric Holder, to be chosen to represent the masses of black people who are at the bottom of this pyramid in order to keep us in check so that they can serve their masters that are over them. That's not liberation, that's slavery. And something came to my mind as you were talking, David. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this well-known African Jamaican by the name of Dr. Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And to a lot of our listeners, if you have never heard, and probably most black people have heard of Marcus Garvey, he was a Pan-Africanist, a black nationalist, right, during the 1920s in Harlem. Born, raised in Kingston, Jamaica, came to Harlem, I believe, in the early part of the 1920s. Anyway, he was a direct threat to the infrastructure of the U.S. government, specifically J. Edgar Hoover. And so J. Edgar Hoover hired the Boulets to neutralize Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, why was Dr. Garvey such a threat? Dr. Garvey was a multimillionaire, and his teaching was, and what I'm about to say, I don't subscribe to what Dr. Garvey was teaching, but black people ought to be going back to Africa, having your own land, and I don't subscribe to that. But at the time, that was deemed a threat to somebody. And the United Negro Improvement Association had so much money that they bought the North Star line ship, right? They bought a yacht, a ship, to take black people on voyages from America to Africa, back to America again. But long story short, they deported Garvey in November 1927. Why? For fraud. But that was the pretext. But
was he doing fraud?
No. What happened, there were agents provocateurs that J. Edgar Hoover was using W.E.B. Du Bois, okay, Henry Minton, one of the founding fathers of the Boulets, would hire their own people to go in as agents provocateurs. And this is what they've done always in black organizations, whether I agree with those black organizations or not. They go in looking like you, sounding like you, but they ain't you, to undermine the social program, whether you believe it or not, of that particular organization. This is what happened to Garvey. He was charged with fraud. Well, why not send him to prison? If that was the actual charge of fraud and tax evasion, why did you deport him? Why not just send him to prison? Because it wasn't true, Jason. So they deported him November 1927. 13 years later, he dies of a heart attack in the Drake Hotel in East London, the same hotel that Julian Rosenwald and Margaret Sanger stayed on the same floor during that time.
Oh.
I'm not trying to put two and two together. What I'm saying that Garvey, and then to probably a lot of our white brothers and sisters who are listening, if you get a chance, look up Dr. Marcus Mosiah Garvey. He was a man that was very influential, not just in Black America, but in the political structure of America. And this was before the advent of the internet. And,
I've never heard of him before.
Never, yes. And so I know Denzel Washington's been trying to get a
movie about it.
Yeah, but they don't want it because they don't want the truth to get out. Because the Boulets, W.E.B. Du Bois, and other Black men and women of great wealth, even the woman, again, if you get a chance, look up Madam C. Walker. She created the hot comb. And Black people, you know what I'm talking about as far as the hot comb that would, straighten up the kinks in your hair. Well, Madam Walker was a Bouletist. She was a part of the same system along with W.E.B. Du Bois that had undermined the work of Marcus Garvey. Why? Now, why didn't the government do it? Why did the government hire? Well, because the Boulets, the Down Low Club, they're the gatekeepers. They're the caretakers of what? The natural order of the crab barrel. And what you said, David, you gave it another deeper sense concerning the crab barrel that I didn't know before. But the thing is, not making this a black and white thing, the crab barrel system, through what Dr. Andrew Hacker said, that certain ones are chosen to represent the masses of Black people, whereas a Kobe Bryant would never come to a Black community. LeBron James, who has that Boulay logo tattooed on his chest. Really? Look it up. LeBron James has that Boulay tattooed to his chest, that Boulay insignia. These people have nothing to do with Black people. There was, and I don't mean to go all over the map here, but just trying to tie this back to the Chicago Down Low Club and going back in 1904 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Out of Lyndon Baines Johnson's Great Society, right, and which was really the doctrine of the left to build a lot of our American ghettos. Some of the largest ghettos in Chicago and Los Angeles and St. Louis, Missouri, came because of Lyndon Baines Johnson's Great Society speech, and Lyndon Baines Johnson had once said, and I'm going to clean this up because I'm very respectful to Jason.
I know what the quote is.
Yeah. He says, I will keep these ends in the democratic machine for more than 300 years. It has worked. It's worked. And the thing is, again, this is all tied to the Down Low Club, the Boulets, is that the psychology of Black America, my responsibility as the host of GSRR Media Group, is to fully awaken the consciousness of Black people, to let them know that the Democratic Party, through Lyndon Baines Johnson, created the welfare state, created the Great Society, created the American ghettos. If you get a chance, Jason, look up the Robert Taylor homes in Chicago.
Robert Taylor homes?
Right, sir. Yes, sir. The Robert Taylor homes, it was torn down, I believe, in the middle parts the early to the middle part of the 2000s. But the Robert Taylor homes, okay, dedicated not by the man that this ghetto was named after. Robert Taylor worked for the Chicago Housing Authority under some of the most racist mayors in history. Richard M. Daley built the Robert Taylor homes to segregate the black community from the rest of the city of Chicago, Illinois. I'm not making this a race card, but Daley was so racist that Robert Taylor was a boule himself. And the Robert Taylor homes, which at that time was the biggest ghetto in American history, housed thousands and thousands of black people. What am I saying? I'm saying that Robert Taylor, his name was used by the Daily machine of the left. All of this through Lyndon Baines Johnson's Great Society. Jason, David, it's a plantation. It's a plantation. They do not want on the left people like Kerosene Maxine Waters, she's a boule. John Lewis, he's a boule. These men and women, the Congressional Black Caucus, they're all boules.
People are asking about Willie Brown and Kamala Harris.
They're all boules. Oh, especially Kamala Harris. Oh, dear God, she is probably one of the. She talks both sides, and whoever sent that in, thank you so much for saying her name. Kamala Harris talks both sides out of her mouth. Matter of fact, the city of San Francisco, Jason and David, is in such a mess with people living on the street, defecating on the street. It's a citywide, it's a state crisis. That's on Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
she's a boule, and so Kerosene Maxine Waters lives in a $6.5 million home in Brentwood. Wait a minute, but she represents South Central LA.
Yeah.
Where's she getting this money from? And they don't care, I don't mean to preach, but they don't care about the masses of the suffering of black people. Why? It's all about votes. It's all about, if I can get you a vote, I can give you a piece of chicken as long as you can vote for me. But they don't want you to be liberated, to be empowered, to think for yourself. It's all a part of the crab barrel system. And I'm going to say this, and then give it back over to David. And forgive me for running my mouth because you guys got me so excited. But
we want to hear what you have to say.
You know, Dave Chappelle was asked by the powers that be in Hollywood to start wearing dresses during some of his acts. He said, I'm not going to wear no dress. I am not going to act like, and again, I'm not condemning people when they live that lifestyle, they can, but I'm against that lifestyle. He says, I'm not going to act gay. I am not going to put on a dress. Again, gentlemen, look at any credible black Hollywood person, okay? They got to wear a dress. They got to go through, look at Kevin Hart.
Medea,
yes, all of these people, Tyler Perry,
yeah.
You know, they have, this is a part of the initiation, okay, to go into that club. And so, you know, because if you don't do it, then you won't gain access to fame. But the Bible tells me, what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? So the original name of the boules, okay, and when you talk about Greek, I believe, David, you talked about this last year, these Greek life societies.
Yeah.
The Greek Hellenistical term for boule is called Sigma Pi Phi. Sigma, capital S-I-G-M-A, Pi, capital P-I, Phi, capital P-H-I, which means boule, gatekeeper, or caretaker of the system. And so the boules, you talk about Phi Beta Kappa and Kappa Beta Phi. The boules are the most powerful black Greek organization on this earth. And they're throughout the United Kingdom. They're throughout the Caribbean islands. So in essence, as we tie this in, the Down Low Club, if you're going to gain access to fame and money, whether it's in Hollywood or in the political industrial complex, you have to bow down to the system. And this is the reason why They hate Donald Trump. You know why they hate Donald Trump? They hate Donald Trump because he's fully and thoroughly exposing the barrel, Jason. Mm-hmm. He's telling the crabs, come out of the barrel. Under President Trump, and correct me if I'm wrong, black unemployment is at its lowest in history.
That's what we've heard.
Latino unemployment is at its lowest in history. Asian unemployment. That's not under Barack Obama. We sent 75,000 factory jobs overseas over Barack Obama. That was under Obama. President Trump is making America great again. Now, whether or not he's not a perfect man, but the thing is, I believe, gentlemen, God has anointed and designed him to really make America great again. But the presence of President Trump is exposing the Pizzagates, is exposing the pedophilia system.
The deep state.
The deep state. I mean, how the swamp, but the swamp is protected by the boulets.
Well, it seems like, if I'm understanding you correctly, and David, please step in, it's a network of these secret societies. I don't know that I had any idea that these Greek societies had so much influence, but that seems to be the case.
Could I just step in there?
Please.
Jason, can I ask you, I mean, because it was an epochal event, 9/11, can you just look for the Global Guardian exercise and put up the front page of the planning document, which shows
Global Guardian,
who is Global Guardian and Vigilant Guardian.
Right.
And when that comes up, I'll just quickly take the bishop and the listeners who haven't heard this before, the meaning of some of these words and what was implied here. Effectively, there were two major exercises during 9/11. There was one on the 1st and 2nd of June of 2001.
Is this the right document, David?
That's not the one. I want the schematic that shows the diagram, you know, the fighter flows and Osama bin Laden in the image. So I think it's
Amalgam Virgo,
no, Amalgam. Well, we can go. Let's go to Amalgam Virgo first. Amalgam Virgo, which is the 1st and 2nd of June, and I want to describe the media play that the elites had planned for the 9/11 attack if they could get the blue team to stand down.
Right.
So
there we are.
Excellent. So look at this date. This is Southeast Air Defense System, I believe, Amalgam Virgo, scenario, counterterrorism, 1st and 2nd of June of 2001. Now this is what I guess today, just stay on the first frame there, Jason, please.
Sure.
This is, I guess, what Serco, this British company that provides resilience training to the United Kingdom Ministry of Defence and overseas governments at Hawkins in the United Kingdom, where they describe a service to a host government, such as the United Kingdom government, of resilience training, where Serco borrows the communication system of the government and injects news and media plays and provides talk show hosts or interviewers to groom government workers to give a presentation to the public that doesn't cause unnecessary panic amongst the population. So here you have an exercise where there is no way that the administrators or the insiders of this media play could say that the American public wasn't warned that Osama bin Laden was coming for them. He's right at the center of this exercise. And he represents the red team leaders. Now, going back to my association with Field McConnell, these kind of exercises, they're terminated when the red attack team gets within 3 minutes of target, or the blue defense team keeps them out. Now, Jason and I have gone around the block extensively with a man called David Zweigart, right? And David Zweigart and people like him, they describe themselves as ethical hackers. And what they have the ability to do is stand down the blue team defenders in the middle of an exercise by revoking the certificates, right? So, for example, 911, the security people in New York and in Washington, they had their certificates revoked and they went blind, deaf, and dumb right in the middle of an exercise that was rehearsed on the 1st and 2nd of June. But on the 11th of September 2001, it was called Global Guardian. And Guardian, euphemism or synonym, if you will, I believe, for custodians or gatekeepers. So effectively what was happening, Serco, this big British company, was staging a continuity of government exercise on 911 that got switched from a simulated defense of the United States to a live fire attack that took out key strategic targets. So we got global, basically we're set up, it's a mystery play or a morality play where the public and insiders have been told, you've got this really evil guy, Osama bin Laden, coming for you. And if he's successful, it basically means that your government is unable to defend the citizens. So they're creating an impression that these small forces on the outside are actually all omnipotent. But if you go back to JFK, what JFK said, there is a secret society, and I think the bishop has actually touched on that with the Boulets, that is connected over these powerful communications networks with other secret societies, Phi Beta Kappa and Kappa Beta Phi, and the 110 livery companies of the City of London, through a network of people who've taken oaths that have probably been recorded on film that are so embarrassing and humiliating and possibly criminal that they will never ever reveal what they've done, let's say, to a victim, like a woman out at the pig farm or a child in Chicago, etc., etc. So I think the bishop has really exposed himself, and I take my hat off to you because you're an immensely courageous guy. I guess you're driven, and I'm not as courageous as you are. I certainly haven't suffered to the same extent. But we cannot afford to let these people frighten us into submission, because the next attack could be with nuclear weapons, where a company like Serco actually has custody, which is a form of guardianship or gatekeeper, of the atomic weapons establishment in the United Kingdom with Lockheed Martin. So they're well armed, they're well prepared. I think everyone being American should listen again to that speech given by President Kennedy that I believe got him killed, where he touched upon, he didn't have all the precision that we have, but then we have the advantage of hindsight, because now with Jason, you and I, what we've done is we've looked at the patent office and we've discovered various patented systems and networks. And let me give you two as an example. One patent is taken out by a guy called Jerome Lemelson, who was the most prolific patent in individual, maybe in America's history. I think he had about 600 patents, but he has one patent for prisoner tracking, which uses artificial intelligence expert system or fuzzy logic algorithms to determine whether a prisoner's privileges should be upgraded or downgraded, whether they're doing what they're told. And I'm saying, well, wouldn't that be the kind of person who might be assigned to track Bishop Gaiters through that restaurant and ultimately deliver some form of food or whatever which he ingested and ultimately nearly killed him? All right. Another patent taken out by Jerome Lemelson is friend or foe swapping. So right in the middle of an exercise, you've suddenly got the blue team defenders who are stood down, the red team stand up as friends, and for example, Captain Gerald DeConto, duty officer of the Pentagon's U.S. Navy Command Center on the Pentagon, called Secretary of the Navy Gordon England in the middle of the exercise, asking for permission to override the clamp on the missile battery on the roof of the Pentagon to take out the incoming missiles, because DeConto had recognized that the incoming had switched from foe in the exercise to friend and had stood down algorithmically the missile battery. So what we're up against is an organization, in the words, and I don't have the exact words to hand, that JFK said, infiltration instead of invasion. Right? Guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. And unfortunately, because the 911 attackers weren't identified right through to the London Underground bombing and prosecuted and jailed, these people are emboldened, they're more powerful than ever, and the next attack could be a threat to the very existence of the United States. Over to you.
Well, gentlemen, it's been an extensive conversation.
Wow.
There's so much more to cover.
Yes.
Bishop, we're going to have you back.
I would love to come back to do a continuation with your permission.
Yeah.
And can I say this quickly,
Please.
too? Muammar Gaddafi, right before his death, had said that one of the main reasons why that JFK was assassinated, because he wanted to shut down the Dimona nuclear plant in northern Israel. And I found that to be very interesting. But quickly here, Booker T. Washington, right, was given $50,000 by Julius Rosenwald, right, in 1932 for the syphilis conspiracy, the syphilis treatment of black men. So Tuskegee University is a Boule university. Booker T. Washington was a Boule. That went on for the period, for the most part of 40 years, from 1932 to 1972. But also Julius Rosenwald gave a $250,000 endowment in 1931, a year before he passed, to the University of Chicago, the same school that Barack Obama taught law in. Why? To create a department of eugenics.
There is right now at the University of Chicago.
And if it's not, they're covering it up.
Wow.
Because it's under the guise of another name, but it's a Department of Eugenics, which was started with Rosenwald money in 1931, the same man who subsidized black colleges throughout the South. That's Rosenwald money. And what interest would, and don't get me wrong, if you want to help people of color or whoever, that's beautiful. But like you said, Jason, you got to tell the truth. You can't just talk both sides out of your mouth.
Right.
90% of our black colleges and universities are producing a generation of Boules. You know, whether it's Florida A&I, Grambling State, Central State University, black people didn't have that type of money. They came from Julius Rosenwald, and also those 5,000 Rosenwald schools, but you got 5,000 members in the Boules. So nothing's by accident. And so, David and Jason, thank you so much for inviting the bishop. I would love to come back and do, a continuation of this. And we've just barely and scarcely scratched the surface. It's deeper.
But it's interesting what you said at the end there, tying it back to the University of Chicago, because David and I have been talking quite a bit about the Weather Underground and Bernardine Dohrn's threats to guard the university. So it seems like there is some evidence indicating that these secret societies that sit on top of these wealthy, sort of like naturally segregated societies, whether it's by country or race or religion, they've joined together in some way to control everybody.
Yeah, and even the Man-Boy Club here in New York University, in New York City, the Man-Boy Club is inundated not only with Boulés who are protecting the pedophiles. Mambla, yes. That's all secret society money. And
that's amazing that that's allowed to exist at all.
You got families of the House of Windsor, some of the most powerful families throughout Europe. They're subsidizing pedophilia. Yeah. And so we're just I probably only gave you guys about 15% of this. There's more. There's another dimensionality to come. So I'm excited. I can't wait to the next to phase 2 of this.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Bishop, for coming and meeting with us. And I know that our viewers are very pleased to have heard some of what you said, because as you've been pointing out the whole time, this is stuff that not only people in the black community in America are unaware of, I think that the general public is unaware of this sort of thing. And that's their primary defense, is that they're operating in secret. And everything that you've described, from the guy that was falsely charged with fraud and deported,
Marcus Garvey.
This is, and everybody knows the COINTEL program that was used against Martin Luther King. So this is all essentially social engineering, exactly what Robert Mueller did last week when he gave that press conference where he's spewing out false statements that have nothing to do with the law or the Constitution or the facts of the evidence related to this nonsense he was investigating. They're just trying to push out these ideas to indict people, whether it's Donald Trump, Marcus Garvey, the Bishop Larry Gaiters, Jason Goodman, David Hawkins, this is what they're trying to do. And I want to thank you, sir, for coming here to help us
been an
fight
honor.
that today. Yes, David, please.
Sorry, just to sort of riff on JFK's comments, he said he felt his need, absolutely, and the press, was to alert and educate the public. See, I think what you and Jason and the bishop and I can do, I don't know if it uniquely is too big a stretch, but I think we have the material now where we have an obligation and the ability to educate and alert the public to the importance of, how shall I put it, a counter media play. It's extremely difficult to recognize fake news, isolate fake news, and identify the source of that fake news. I think we are developing the skills partly from our own personal background, but together as a trio, if you will, where we can actually educate and alert the American people to the existence of this media controlling and manipulating organization through counter media plays. And this show has been, I think, a classical example. So I thank you very much, Bishop. And also, please go well and go safe.
And also, and with Jason's permission, if I'll let Jason put up that PayPal link too.
Yes, of course.
And to all of our listeners, listen, we're not doing this for money. You know, I don't have a Mercedes Benz or nothing like that. We're doing it for the propagation of the truth. So if you believe in the authenticity, the truth of what, you know, we've been propagating for the past hour, 2 hours, please go to paypal.me/GSRR Media Group. Again, paypal.me/GSRR Media Group. Whether it's $1, $5, $10, $100, $1,000. And also our email address within PayPal is acchire@yahoo.com. Again, acchire@yahoo.com. That should be up on the screen. So paypal.me/GSRR Media Group, GSRR Media Group. And our email address for PayPal is acchire@yahoo.com. Any amount would help us further propagate this truth. And Jason and David, thank you so much for allowing me to grace your program and to really try to open the eyes of all of your listeners around the world from an African American perspective of these great societies within Black America that people are not really privy to. It's been an honor to grace your show. Thank you, sir.
Well, the honor has been mine, Bishop, and I apologize, I didn't have a graphic ready, but I did put the PayPal address and the email address that people can use into the live chat so people can get it there. I also want to remind everybody watching that they can follow the Bishop on Twitter. He is on Twitter at Bishop L. Gaiters, and that is right there on the screen right now. You can listen to him on Talk America Radio, and just give everyone the URL one more time if you could.
Yes, talkamericaradio.us/global-spiritual-revolution-radio. Okay, so definitely follow us there. And also our ministry global webpage is globalspiritualchange.com, globalspiritualchange.com. That's a separate entity from GSRR Media Group. And again, you can give anything for the furtherance of this truth. Please help us because we need every dime. It takes money to sustain a ministry, a global ministry. That's paypal.me/GSRR Media Group. And the email for that is acchire@yahoo.com. And again, thank you so much, Jason and David, for allowing me to grace your program.
Our absolute pleasure. And people can follow David on Twitter. He is at CSI Hawkins. People can also enjoy David's webpage, which is reversecciscripts.com. David and I are doing our regular show every Friday. I think most people watching right now are probably familiar with that, but you can see it on patreon.com/reversecsi storyboards, patreon.com/crowdsource the truth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsource the truth. My two guests today have been the Bishop Larry Gaiters and David Hawkins. Wonderful presentation, gentlemen. I know everyone really learned a lot. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's an honor.
And thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you later.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.